Happy Halloween. Washington 25, Dallas 3.
It was a rainy day at FedEx Field as the Washington football team took on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the NFC East is no longer the beast, and that division is up for grabs. Does the rivalry still exist? And the Cowboys players are calling out the coaches. We'll talk about that and a lot more as Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus is coming up next.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus television show, here on the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. Let's welcome our co-host this week, the former chaplain of the Washington football team, Mr. Milton Harding. A man Tom Knott once called Mad Mike, the mouthpiece of NCAA maniacs, Mike Baker. Washington football team beat reporter and member of the Fairmont University women's basketball 1,000-point club, Miss Donna Hopkins. One of the most prolific pass catchers in the 20th century, and four-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl wide receiver Gary Clark. And a man who played in the NFL for 14 seasons, and one of the all-time sack leaders in the NFL, Super Bowl pass rusher Tony Mac the Sack McGee.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. We can laugh this week. I got Milt here, I got Gary here, I got Mike here, and Donna. All of a sudden, we can talk about the team that's in the second place, guys. And Donna, in your opener, you said they're not the beast from the East, but they're in second place.
Hey, Tony, you know what? That, like we said, is wide open. It's been bad play in the NFC East, and for the first time in a long time, this Washington football team played a complete game, and we can talk about a running game that finally got on track. You look at Gibson, who only had 33 carries in college his whole time, and he had 20 in the Washington football team's win. So we have a lot to be happy about the running game, the offensive line, and the quarterback play.
Okay, you got your cup out there when you mess around and say that bad word. I see you working on that Washington football team. Hey, G, they ran the ball on Sunday, G. Talk to me. I know you like it. Your boy caught some passes too, but that made that offensive line look a lot better.
Like you had both facets of the offense working together. That's an important part of it. You run the ball well, you can throw the ball well. You throw the ball well without running the ball well, you better have the posse. They don't have the posse, so you better be on point 100%. But it was a great game. But as I said, Tony, they would win just like I said they would win, unlike Donna Hopkins.
I didn't say they would.
Hey, Uncle Milt, what do you think about the change in quarterback? Do you think, had they done this earlier, that they could have had the same results?
Well, that's a hard question to ask. Tony, let me say this out the gate, though. It is so refreshing to see Donna smiling and happy to talk about the stats and the game. I've been asking her all season to just be patient. We'd come around. Anyway, I think that it is playing out that Kyle knows the offense a bit better than Dwayne. And so he actually is getting the ball out of his hands a little faster. He seems to have more time, but I think that's just because of his familiarity with the offense. Now, the good news is we won, and we had wonderful stats. The bad news, we were playing a real jacked up Cowboys team. But nonetheless, I take a W. Homers don't complain. Homers don't complain. We take
Mike, did you guys hear what Milt said? We won.
We won.
Hey, homers talk like
You're
that.
a homer.
We earn the right to talk like that.
Hey, Tony, Milton said something about I'm smiling finally. He said have patience. But he didn't say in the beginning that they needed to have changed the quarterbacks for that to happen and some other things to take place before this football team will get that W again.
Man, I've seen him smile more today than I've ever seen him smile. He's so happy. Hey, Mike, tell me about the offensive line. Have they found something Sunday when they started running the ball? They had 208 yards rushing the ball. That made that whole offense better.
You know what's really interesting? You asked me that question. If we look at Kyle's calls, you'll look at the differential between passing and rushing. Donna's absolutely right. They ran the ball in Kyle's calls. He actually ran the ball 39 times. He threw 25 times. I had to go back in all of my old stats from about 8 or 9 years to find the last time we ran 40 times and won a game. It's been a long.
I bet you that's when Coach Gibbs was here, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly. Well, actually, it was just after that. But also, if you look at Kyle's calls and you look at what the coach did and you look at his chalkboard, you'll also see that he actually played Morgan Moses at left tackle early in the game. And he was asked about that, but he didn't want to talk about that because that's sort of this secret weapon, I guess. But also, he also talked about the productivity of moving the other guy over to left tackle, and Cornelius Lucas. I mean, he did a brilliant job. I think he surprised everybody, 7-year veteran. So there was some jostling going on the line. The coach was very proud of that. I'm not going to talk about the coach's battle with cancer because Donna has a wonderful piece on that later on. But to address your line issues, yes, I love the fact Danny used to just stick with his line and never make any changes. I love the fact that the coach started moving people around to try to get the best effort to try to get a running game going.
Well, you know, that probably helped the offense because you do use a little bit more play action and everything when you're doing that, but you have to have a threat. They didn't have a threat up to them. But Terry, your boy caught a lot of passes on Sunday, G. I mean,
Tony, before Gary talks about Terry, let's go and hear what Terry, offensive coordinator, had to say. And Gibson got all three of them.
All right, let's do it.
I think Kyle did a great job. You know, the big plays early in the game were really great. I think they set the tone for what we wanted to do offensively. You know, it's really kind of the way we want to play. I mean, he threw for 100 and I think something around 130 yards in the first half. And then in the second half, you know, we were doing such a good job running the ball that, we didn't score as many points maybe as we'd like to, but we kept the ball away from their offense. Like I said, the offensive line, I think all 5 of those guys did a great job blocking up front. But every week, we look at, what's the best way to use our guys, and we'll continue to do that. I talked to the guys about, protecting the football. We talked about creating some explosive plays, which we were able to do. And then we talked about converting third downs. And I said, if we do all 3 of those things, we're going to run the ball well. And we did all 3 of those things, and we ended up running for 208 yards.
Starting to get a feel for it each and every game. It's new to me to get this many reps at running back. So just learning every week, knowing where my blockers are going so I can, kind of anticipate where I need to go before the play actually happens, helps a lot. So, just being patient and trusting my blockers is where I feel like I grew it, in the past 2 weeks.
I feel like all season we played complementary 4-quarter football. Offense converted on some third downs. O-line controlled the line of scrimmage. We hit big plays. We ran the ball great. Defense got some stops, got some turnovers, and special teams flipped the field. If you want to win in this league, that's what you have to do consistently. And
what's exciting about that? Younger players are starting to step up. And, Mike, you always have a list of players to watch, and it seems as though in the game on Sunday, more of the young players on both sides of the ball stepped up.
Well, let's just look at it real quickly. See if you all agree with my grades this week. Everybody got an A. Everybody got an A.
Wait, Mike.
No, I'm sorry.
They can't get an A because they were playing Dallas. Come on, man.
I know, but, considering you think I like Dallas, giving all our guys an A is pretty good. Yep.
It's refreshing. And, the one thing that I was talking to Milt before the show, they added 2 more teams to the playoffs this year. So this team could be right there at the end of the year if they play. Just think about it. Had they not lost the game last week, they would be in first place. So it's looking up now.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tony, they were clicking on Sunday because finally we saw the long ball back. I mean, you think about the one that Terry had for 50-some yards, and then Gibson had the big long run also. So finally, that long ball that we've been waiting on to see, and Terry McLaurin, we talked about what these young guys stepping up, and he almost like he doesn't talk much, but he was the one who rallied the team in the locker room after the win to move them along. So you're seeing a lot of things happen with the passing game and the running game in that game against Dallas. But like you said, it was the Cowboys, and they look like they just quit on that team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, talking about quit, we got to quit this segment right now. Pay a few bills. But it sounds good. They won. We'll be back in a moment. Hey, I'm going to reach through that computer and get Milk in a minute anyway. He's a homeless. We'll be back. Welcome back. And you know, every time you have a win, it takes all facets of the team to make that win happen. And on Sunday, the defense was off the chain. And we finally heard about some linebackers, guys. Tell me about these new players.
Coach Holcomb is the player, Tony, that has really stepped up and improved that area, the linebacker position. Remember, he was out after the first game with an injury. And he, with the Elliott one that he just threw him out the way and got to the quarterback for the sack was pretty spectacular. And also he played well on special teams.
Yeah, okay. It's always nice when the other team, you can hold a team. And I know Dallas do not have their linemen like they usually have, but you hold them to the few yards that they gave up and you get 6 sacks, interceptions. That's the way a defense is supposed to play.
Yeah. That linebacker Holcomb is going to be heard from. At the beginning of the year, he was, I think, number 2 on the depth chart, and then he got injured. But you can see his speed, and then as Donna said, she said he moved him out of the way, but he just blew Elliott's chest right up. I mean, the next thing you knew, he was there. So he's going to be a good addition if he can maintain that starting role, because he plays sideline to sideline, and he will hit you.
Yeah, they lost Collins to a Achilles injury for the rest of the season, so that's a big blow to the defense.
I thought one of the cool things when we were talking about that chalkboard earlier also was the fact that Fuller played a little bit of a little bit of free safety there, and they were moving everybody around. DeShazer Everett has done a lot of the free safety. They were jostling guys back and forth. I was trying to keep track of them with my binoculars, but I couldn't do it. But Fuller, I mean, he is a ball hawk, no question about that. So he's going to be good at free safety. DeShazer, I saw, move to strong safety. And I mean, I really like what they did in that game. I mean, they are making adjustments at halftime.
Well, you know, the good thing about it is, yes, we've been seeing them lose, but they have been improving at some things each and every week.
Yeah.
And G, you notice we've been talking about these defensive backs. Now you can talk to, it's okay, Gary, this is defense. We know you don't like, but you can say something to us. Did you see an improvement in our defensive backs this week, G?
Yeah, I mean, I saw improvement in the offense, the defense, and the special team.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first week that, other than the first week, this is the first time I've seen improvement across the board, period. Because other than this last game, and I actually played decent against the Giants as well, but this is the first time that they look like a football team, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And anytime you beat Dallas, it gets everybody, it gets the city excited again. It gets everyone
exactly.
Everybody gets excited about Washington football team football.
Tony, your defensive line was smoking.
I know it, but you know now that's the same line you were throwing under the bus.
I know, Tony, but
hey, that's Donna.
You know, I want to ask you guys this. Taking a look at the wall, you know, the guy who's really been coming on, and I think Milton mentioned this last week. The guy is Sweat. He had 2 sacks yesterday. When you look at the wall, Sweat had 2, Kerrigan had 1, and Settle is sneaking in there. He seems to get a sack every week. The other 3 guys, no sacks, but they were definitely a force in there. But what's going on with Settle, everybody?
Well, he's getting an opportunity to play more. And if you remember prior to that, he's always played pretty well when he's in there. So he's getting a chance to play more. And what I like about the whole thing is they were getting pressure from all of their defensive linemen. And that's the way you win games. I know Dallas offensive line got the injuries and everything, but they get paid on Monday like everybody else.
The NFL players. Yeah. To Gary's point a few weeks ago. Go ahead, Don.
No, I was just going to let's go hear what Jack Del Rio had to say about the defense and why they look so good on Sunday.
Yeah, I thought Cole was outstanding yesterday. Impactful in the game. He had the big sack. He had a big interception when they were in the red zone. Flew around all day. Showed up on special teams. I mean, he played well throughout the day. So I think our guys are beginning to gain some confidence in trusting each other and trusting the preparation. And we've had good energy and good practices, and that typically leads to good performances on game day.
We're bringing that pressure. It's me and the safety inside, and I'm supposed to be fitting inside the back on that. And I saw the guard fin out to him, so I know Zeke was probably going to come back in on me. So I just had to. I saw Andy Dalton so close. I was like, man, I cannot get blocked by Zeke. So I just, tried to put hands on him and ended up finishing on the quarterback.
Can we talk about Bostic and the hit that he made? I want to show you all 3 photographs. Now, you're not going to see them. We'll drop them in later on. But the first photograph you're going to see is Bostic lowering his head to make a tackle along with Darby on a pass receiver going out of bounds. The position of his head is in the exact same position as he's making the tackle as part 1 of the tackle on Andy Dalton, on the hit on Andy Dalton, the exact same place. Part 2, you'll actually see his shoulder lowered as he goes to hit Dalton. Dalton flopped. Dalton did not slide. Dalton just flopped on the spot, and his head was in the way of his shoulder. I'm not sticking up for Bostic. I am just saying that it's not altogether clear whether that was a deliberate hit or not. And I'm basically Bostic's agent, and so I'm saying he should not be fined.
Hey, Mike, put the glasses out.
Sound a little bit like Perry Mason to me.
But you know what? Mike had a point, because when I saw it for the first time, he was right. The head was kind of parallel to his chest. He was falling back, and the helmet wasn't there, on that one. And he had his shoulder at him. So, but they're so protective now, and they need to be that way, but sometimes you can be too protective. And then,
hey, County, what's the rule says? You can't lower your shoulder like that.
Yeah, but you know what I saw a couple of weeks ago with that rule? They called it on a running back when he dropped his head one time. So I guess that's just the way the league's going to go from now on. You can't drop your head anymore.
And plus, too, when you see players like that, Bostic doesn't have a history of that kind of play. And I think when you're head hunting, it's going to be obvious. But I think
you would know about the history too, wouldn't you? Because
if you want to talk about Dexter Manley, that's different. But if you want to talk about Bostic is not a cheap shot type player. And so I think with the way that Dalton was going down, and then Bostic had already launched himself, and to Donna's point, I mean, the rule just is black and white. It's the letter of it. But, you can't stop in midair like that. You're going to blow somebody up. This is the NFL. This is where people hit people.
Milton, his coaches called him out. Coach Rivera and Jack Del Rio said that he can't go in like that.
Well, what do you expect them to say? What do you expect them to say, John?
That's interesting.
Andy Dalton's head off.
I'm just glad he was there. For the last few weeks, he hadn't been close enough to hit anybody. But at the same time, it wasn't as bad as it looked. But they have to have some uniformity with the rule, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now, where can we see improvement with this defense, guys? I mean, we always have seen the front line play pretty well. Now we got linebackers that's giving an effort, and we got defensive backs that improving. So can this be still one of the top defenses in the league?
I think we're going to be able to tell Tony in the weeks to come after the bye week, because when you look at the schedule of the teams that they're going up, they've got much offensive, better teams that they're going to be facing. So it's going to be able to tell what this defense really is like. I like the fact that they started blitzing more in that Dallas game. That's an area I think that they definitely need to keep the foot on, is a little more aggressive up front. And the secondary, of course, they can play a little better than they did even against Dallas.
Yeah, but Donna, this is the reason why they were up in that game. So he could unleash a few blitzes. We were always trying to Burrow
No,
from
I liked
behind.
it. He did.
Hey, Gary. Gary, did you see how Donna, she still had to just throw a little bit under the bus. And she couldn't say that they had a good
One game,
game.
Tony.
I asked her about improvement, and she pulled out something they did wrong.
It was one game.
I like the
And then I
blitz.
got to, hey, Gary, why you get so quiet when we talk defense, man? What's up?
It's this moment for me to take and look at my notes. You know, you see me put my head down and look at some.
Tony thought, he thought you were asleep. He thought you
Tony,
were
you got to talk about offense.
I don't really sell the tickets in the game. You know, people come there to see the receivers actually. So I mean, I was glad people saw Terry.
They did blitz a little more. Did you notice that? Holcomb, of course, blitzed,
yeah.
and he got that sack. But I mean, they did blitz more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a minute left, guys. And tell me what we can take away from that game for the next game. Was it a good effort? Was it everybody was just doing their job, or did you see something special?
Something they can build upon is what I like about it. You know, you need something like that to build upon. They're a half game out of first place, you know, so they can build upon that and take over first place, because Philly's going to slip. That's for sure. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's going to happen for sure.
Now, you know we have to take a break now, because Gary Clark said 20 minutes and didn't say anything, and then he gave some information. We'll be back in a moment.
And now, on the couch with Milton Harding and Brian Mitchell.
Well, we're here with my man, Brian Mitchell. Brian, thank you for coming on the show. Now we're going to get the real scoop. You'll be able to unload on us. You're plugged into too many circles and a lot of circles to give us some solid input. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good. I know because of taping time here, you probably just got off the path, right? You've been out for about 30 miles this morning.
Nah, I just did 16 this morning. That's about it. But I have 55 miles tomorrow, so I did 16 this morning, and I try to get anywhere from 155 or more a week. I've been averaging right around 212 a week for the last like 5-6 weeks, but it's been fun. You know, the longer I ride, the less my legs hurt, so I can get.
So now you have to ride, right? Hey, I know over the last few weeks, many weeks rather, you've misery loves company, so you've been asking people to join you on the ride, and so it's picked up a little momentum. Listen, man, first of all, I want you to tell me, we've been looking at some folks that have been around the Washington football team for a while, and particularly the ones that have been through the winning season, and you qualify for that. And so what you're about to give input to, tell our audience, man, about what it was like playing for Coach Gibbs and some of the one-worders that you attached to coming into the league, because I know you speak fondly of him and often, but you know, so tell us about that, man.
Well, I think one thing about Coach Gibbs, the thing about him, what you look for in every coach is honesty and fairness. I think he was honest, he was fair, he was prepared, and made sure you were. And I think that's the whole. And then he was a guy that was character driven and a genuine man. I think the one thing he tried to make us understand was, you know, if you're a good person, you're gonna be a good player because you'll do all the things you need to do. And I believe Coach Gibbs, he tried to build men more than he tried to build football players.
Good point,
and
man.
The thing about it is, when I first got here, I had played quarterback for 9 years. I had never played running back, kick return, anything like that. And he told me, he said, we'll give you a year to learn the job, then you compete after that. You know, I took that as a blessing, you know, because, you know, he's going to give me this opportunity in the NFL to learn for a year. And then now I can go out and compete and try to fend for myself. And I basically felt just like, I always tell people, God gave me a talent, and my talent back to God was, my thank you back to God was to take that talent as far as I can. Yeah. Well, Coach Gibbs gave me an opportunity, you know, and that was a blessing in saying that I'm going to give you a year to figure this out. So what I wanted to do is make sure he did not think he made a mistake. And I worked my butt off as hard as I can. But the thing about it was so many guys on this football team were character-driven guys and guys that were willing to help you. You know, I heard all the horror stories that you get to the NFL, guys are not going to try to help you. They'll give you the wrong information. I
Right.
didn't experience any of those things. All the guys tried to help me out both on and off the football field.
You know, last week we had one of the guys that you talking about right now. Monty was on and sharing some things, and I've heard you talk about him, and
Mhm.
because I know Monty, I when you speak of him, like how he poured into your life and how you watched how he did things and how they brought you along. Do you think that's missing in today's game, man? You think
I think
that's
it is. I think it is because the thing of today, you know, I understand money has changed the game some, but back in the day, guys were in one place for a long period of time.
yeah,
And when you talk about culture and building something, you know, when I got here, Monty, Daryl, Art, Bostic, Jacoby, all these guys have been here 8, 9, 10 years or so, maybe
yeah,
6, 7 years with Ernest Biner and guys like that. But those guys did something a certain way. And they basically made sure you understood you're going to come and fit in to what
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
do. We're not going to let you come in here and change anything. If you look at this football team over the last 20 plus years, every year is a new leader. And that new leader is somebody who just came in.
Yeah.
How do you
Yes.
establish something when every year you're bringing somebody from the outside to be the leader here? You have to have leaders here. And on top of that, the leaders are the guys that are young who are making the most money. What makes you think just because they're making the most money, they were drafted in the first round, that they understand? I understand a lot of guys won in college. That's college. This is the NFL where a bunch of
Different
grown men,
level. Yeah.
and it changes things. You know, the guys that won in college, if you go to Alabama, you go to Ohio State, Urban Meyer was the reason that a lot of guys won there because he set a certain standard. You look at Nick Saban in Alabama, he set that standard. In
Yeah.
the NFL, the coaches are people that help set the standard, but the players carry it on. And I
Right.
think too many times we want to make the guy who makes the most money or the guy that the coaches or the media may think is the leader, the leader. That's
Right.
not necessarily the guy all the time. Hell, I became a leader within 2 or 3 years. I was a young guy with a bunch of old guys, but I'd been a quarterback all my life. You know, I was a leader. I had never just sat there and had to listen to everybody. And the way you become a leader is by doing the things you're supposed to do them right, knowing what you're supposed to, and also being able to help other people out. And
Right.
I've always felt just like Barack Obama, they said that everybody was telling him, you need to wait for your opportunity. He said, this is my opportunity, and ran for president and won, you know,
Yeah.
because too many times others want to tell you you have to wait. Why? Because you might be stepping on their toes. You might take the position that they think they're supposed to have. And I
Absolutely.
think young guys today, like Terry McLaurin, he's an old school dude. He does everything the
His
right way.
mindset. Yeah.
He
Absolutely.
can be a leader. Some of these other guys who say I'm the leader, who try to talk about being, if you got to tell me you're the leader,
You're not. No, you're not the leader. Yeah. You also had something else, Brian. I know you said, you had the leadership mindset because you were a quarterback coming into Washington football team. I'm going to tell a little story on you right now. You may or may not know it, that I know it, but also knowing Brian Mitchell, you may not even care. So I forget now what I was with somebody one afternoon, and some word came out about a practice that had a little feistiness in it, which would not be unusual for stuff happening at football practice.
Mhm.
But then when I discovered who was opposite of you,
Uh-huh.
and I said, what in the world happened there? And I said, and I couldn't believe it. But I'm very good friends with that brother, and he confirmed it. So it was that fire in you. You didn't care how big, how tall, what size. You were about. I believe you showed respect to players around you, but you had a fire in you, man, that took you beyond just like when to see you return punts.
Mhm.
You would think you did that all the time. What was that transition like from having to learn that? I spoke to Danny Johnson yesterday and asked him, was his mindset when he gets the ball, was he following the script to get field position, or was he thinking about taking it to the house? And so he responded. I said, well, I would almost call you Brian Mitchell, but I'd have to pay for that. Tell me, what is it like? What that transition was like, Brian?
Well, to be honest, Milton, once the ball is in your hand, I think don't make a difference if you're playing quarterback, running back, wide receiver, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you still are trying to gain yours for your team. You know,
Yeah.
I ran the football a lot as a quarterback, And I remember one time stepping out of bounds because I was playing quarterback in high school, trying to step out of bounds. The guy dove and sprained my ankle, and I told my coach, I said, I'll never do that again, because they always say, we don't want you to get hit, step out of bounds, preserve yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I felt trying to take care of myself and be easy is when I got hurt, so I started to go full speed at it, and I approached the weight room that way. I wasn't the biggest guy on the football field, but I was as strong as any big guy out there. And I felt if I can get the leverage on them, I can get them. I watched Walter Payton as a 205-pound running back run over people. And I began to say, okay, if he can do that, that's how I'm going to model my game. And I worked out in the weight room, lift weights. I was a power cleaner, squatter, bench press. And I wanted to make sure I can get them. And see that man right there? That's my father.
I know. Wait, we're going to get to him. We're going to get to him in a minute.
180 pounds, the toughest man I knew in my life. And he told me, he said, it doesn't make a difference how big somebody is. If you can catch him in the right spot, you can win it. And I was told that in the 5th grade, I was a Mitchell. I can do anything. And my mindset has been like that ever since.
And you went with that. Listen, one of those weight room stories, you won't remember this one either, maybe. I was in there lifting with Monty and Art one day, and you came in, and we got to talking or whatever. And I think Monty said, hey, Mitch, watch this. So he was, I wasn't lifting what Monty was lifting for sure. And then you said, well, all he's got is arms. That was what you said to me. And then you went about, lifting the weight room from that point on. So I know I've seen your work ethic in the weight room, man. I've also seen your basketball prowess too over at Worldgate when, you had to set some things straight over there, and then eventually it just had to retire. But you mentioned your father, and I've heard you speak about your father often, man. And you don't speak about your father just when there's a demeanor change about you, man, when you talk about your father, because I can see the discipline he instilled in you.
Oh yeah.
Tell me what if there were one or two things you take away that said, because when I was growing up, and I think we got old school stuff, man, there was stuff I didn't do just because it wasn't going to be worth it if he found out about it.
Oh yeah.
So speak to us a little bit.
And it's I speak about my father, and my mom was that quiet person, but she meant business.
Yeah.
She was the one when she said anything, you knew you were in trouble. But my dad was the type of guy where he always he was that military mind. He was in the military for 20 years, and he had the mindset of, if you feel like, every guy gets to the person where the little saying they say you're smelling yourself. Everybody gets to that point. And he always felt like, okay, so my dad boxed in the military. So he'll toss you the gloves. He say, put them on. He say, you win, you make the rules. So when I was in the 5th grade, my oldest brother put the gloves on, and I would say by mistake. And I watched every time my brother probably thought about swinging, my dad died. So I remember getting into college at 18 years old, came back, I started lifting, I'm yoked up, and I walk in the house, he threw the glove, I slapped him to the ground. He said, what you doing? I said, man, I saw what you did to him.
I've seen that story, yeah.
But the thing about it was he instilled so much in like belief in myself. It wasn't about that I was smaller. I was the youngest of 7 kids. And he made sure I understood that I had a place in life. But if I wanted that place, I had to work for it. Yeah. And I think the fact that he instilled work in me, I don't doubt that I can do anything. And I remember my oldest daughter, Bria, I think she might have been 13, 14. And I told him that, yes, I don't want anything for Christmas. Just write a letter telling me what you think about me. And she said, Dad, if I could have just half of your work ethic one day, I know I'll be successful.
Yeah.
That's all. At least what I took, I'm passing on. And it makes me feel good about that.
Brian, to that point, I know you're doing a lot of speaking engagements. You're available for corporate speaking or a small group or what have you. And so we do want our listening audience, we're going to put out some information that they need to have you come and inject some of that enthusiasm, not only enthusiasm, but there's a lot of wisdom behind that. Let's fast forward real quickly now to the Washington football team this year, this season, right now. I remember listening to you when things were early on in this process, and we've moved through now 5 or 6 weeks. Tell me what you see going forward, as far as what it relates to just this team.
Well, right now I see a lot of confusion. And listen, I'm a Ron Rivera guy, but I think he's kind of instilled some of that same confusion because of the changing of his message.
Right.
And that's what I meant by, with Coach Gibbs. It's like his message was the same since the day I
Consistent.
met him. It has
Absolutely.
never changed.
Everywhere.
And I understand sometimes that, you may forget things, but it seems like it's consistently. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. We got recorders. We know. And I think that players, they play off of that, you know. But ultimately, I think the problem with this football team. See, I play quarterback, I play running back, I play kick return, all these different things. I understand Darryl was a great cornerback and all this. But Darryl would tell you, just like I tell you, the skill positions did nothing without those big dudes up front. And I don't care which side of the football is on. When you look at our offense, they were trying to blame Dwayne Haskins for everything, but the offensive line is horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, you got running backs that are farther along than Gibson, but they want Gibson. And he's just a young man who's going to learn and be damn good.
Right.
The receivers, you have one guy in Terry McLaurin. You got tight ends that are learning, but ultimately, your offensive line is not consistently good. So I don't care who the quarterback is or whoever, nobody's going to have any success. When I flip it over to the defensive line, and we tout that we got 5, 6 first rounders. Are they playing first rounder? Okay. So those guys get consistent. The linebackers and the defensive backs won't be consistently good. And as I think about the 4 Super Bowls that the Washington football team went to, as I think about the 3 that they won, they had the Hogs, and then they had their capital defense on the other side.
Right.
And those guys competed at a high level on a daily basis, and that made each other good. So until we put the attention and get those 5 guys up front, I'm gonna say 8 guys, because you know, Milton, they had 3 to 4 guys behind those 5 that could step in and start anywhere.
And you better not come off the field limping or something, because you might not get that job back. Absolutely.
When I hear guys today, when they get an opportunity, they say, well, I'm just in there filling in until he comes back. It's his job. What? No, I want your job. Okay. And I love you. You're my guy. But I didn't come to the NFL to sit down and watch somebody else play. I came here to win. You know, Joe Howard Johnson, I ride bikes with Joe all the time. Joe is a great friend of mine. Walter Stanley was a great friend. But when they gave me the opportunity to return punts, I wasn't trying to relinquish that opportunity. But Joe and Walter helped me out. Still friends with Joe today. But the ultimate thing is, what's your mindset? Is your mindset that I'm in the NFL with the guys I used to look up to, and I'm still in awe? Or, I respect you. Like you said earlier, I respect guys, but I'm on your same level now. I'm going to compete with you. I'm not going to respect you so much that I can't go out there and handle and do my job.
Yeah, and it put so much emphasis put on what round you were drafted, and I know you could care less about that. As a 5th rounder, you came in and played like a 1st rounder. And well, you made the adjustment. I'm not going to blow your head up, but I mean, you did. You came in, and that was about attitude. There were other people who were maybe more physically developed than you. They weren't going to beat you in the weight room, but that's kind of what you brought to the field. Listen, I know you and I've talked about being available, if you will, because I know you have a heart for players who are coming up now and may not have been taking advantage of what you had, people coming alongside of you. You made yourself available for that. And so speak to where that comes from, Brian, just to be able to reach out to some of the modern day players, if you will. And they need help. I mean, they need help.
I've always felt, and I always heard that, if you're blessed, you need to be a blessing. And that's the way I try to do it. I tell everyone, I did not make it to where I did by myself.
Right.
Yes, I had some work ethic in me, but that was instilled by my dad. I had people along the way that looked out for me, teachers, principals, just regular people in the neighborhood and things like that. When I got to the NFL, Darryl, Art, Ernest Biner, all these guys gave me an opportunity, Monty Coleman. So what it is, I want to reach back and help guys. I reached back and was trying to help a guy like James Strash, Eddie. And now you see what those guys are doing. And I think that's how we build a legacy and a lineage of like brothers helping brothers or whatever. However you try and do it. And I always let people understand that everybody's journey and path may not be the same. The one thing, when I tell you something about how I dealt with it, you may not be able to do it the same way I did it. But the one thing I think that's consistent, you have to be prepared. You have to be willing to do the work. So I don't care if like I was a guy who didn't, when I spoke back to someone is because I believed that I was right. I knew what I was talking about. And yes, some people may take that as the wrong way. Some people may not. But ultimately, you need to know what you're talking about. You got to work your butt off. You can't be half-stepping and try to say something about somebody else that's doing something if you're not doing.
And you're not doing the work, right?
So I just feel that if guys, and I try to make sure guys understand, no matter what, be prepared, know what you're talking about, know your job, and always be willing to learn something else.
Yeah.
Listen, I started football, I was a center. I played defensive end. Then they moved me to running back. In the 8th grade, I got moved to quarterback. I did that for 9 years. I got drafted in the NFL, and they say, well, you're going to return kicks and punts. I never returned kicks and punts, even in Little League football. So I get to the NFL, my first time returning a kick, I returned it for a touchdown. Okay. Did I know what I was doing? No, I was scared. I ran fast as I could. I got into the end zone, and I remember Charles Mann said, you just made the football team. And Wayne Sevier said, you haven't done X. You better get out there on the kickoff, and you better be on the tackle. That quickly make you realize that that one moment is not it. You got to be doing something constantly. I was on the tackle also, and I made the team based off of that. But the thing about it is being prepared, being willing to learn, and know what you're talking about, know what you're doing.
Now, Brian, we got to go now. I mean, there's so much more we can talk about. We would love to have you come back at some point in time because you got a lot of nuggets for people who need them, man. Listen, thanks for showing up today and hanging out with me for a little bit. Maybe I'll return the favor and grab my bike. It's a Swin. I think that'll be all right, right? I can make it.
Hey, the thing about it, though, we got to make sure Mike understands we don't start the interview until we get to 30 miles. My group is called Riding 30. Okay.
Riding 30.
On purpose, with a purpose. So when we get to 30 miles, then you and I do an interview.
Fair enough. All right, Brian Mitchell. Brian, thanks a lot, man. We'll see you in a minute, man. Take care. Good to see you.
Welcome back. And each and every week we talk about the 3 facets of a team. And on Sunday, we were able to have all 3 facets do well. Special teams, they did enough to help with the win. But what improvement do we need? I'm still not seeing all the big plays I'd like to see on special teams. I'd like to see more change in the field.
Yeah, the running game, I think the position as far as the kickoff return and the punt return, those guys, to me, have to be able to get upfield because they're not putting them in perfect position as far as on their run backs.
Hey, that's what I know, but what do you think that is? Because see, special teams is
Brian,
you know this.
Went this way, Tony. To me, they're not hitting the holes and going on those run backs.
I can't hit. You can't hit the hole if it's no hole there to hit.
That's G. You just said exactly.
I don't think they're seeing it.
I mean, all you typically need is a sliver, and they're not even getting a sliver to be able to hit something because there's nothing there to hit. So I think if they did a little misdirection would be good. Anytime you get the defense going one way and then bring it all the way back around. I mean, when I made some of my best runs in terms of returning, it was getting the defense moving one way, then I'm going to come back all the way around. Because the guy has enough speed to do that. If you got a speed guy, you can do that. That's why he returned punts and kicks because he could go one way and all of a sudden he can bring it all the way back the other way.
Yeah. Tony, I'd like to see, and I think it could end up biting us later on if we don't show it up. I think because of some of the injuries, I think that's where we get the 66-yard return on special teams because you got probably some new faces on special teams now because of injuries. And so I think we have to shore that area up pretty good. And for Donna's cousin, I've been speaking about this for 4 weeks.
Hey,
we got to get better in the kicking game. Got to get better in the kicking game.
Milt, you did a great job with that Brian Mitchell piece too, man. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
I want to tell you in front of everybody, Donna, the injured players coming back. Tell me about it.
No, Stephen. I think that they don't have a sure guy back there yet because Sims was their guy that they had already groomed to be back there, and he was hurt, and he still got the foot injury. So I'm not for sure when he's going to come back. So injuries right now, this bye week should help them to get some bodies back, but I'm not for sure how many. And they ended up reaching out to find new players, to fill some of those roster places. And
We
Mike
don't-
talked about Love. I don't know where he's at.
But you know the thing about that, and we only got a couple of minutes left in this segment, but one thing, do you guys not notice around the league how many people are being injured? And I got to think it's because they didn't have training camp and they're not in great shape. I mean, but it's so many people, and these are serious injuries, but a lot of them turn out to be their Achilles and different things with their knees. So that tells me that they're not stretching right. And it's bad to see it. It's everywhere.
Right. Yeah, just to get back special teams more quickly, a little bit. I really don't want to disappoint Donna, but I think it's time to bring in another kicker. He's missed 4 in 4 games, and one of them cost us the Giants game. I mean, legitimately, they could have won the Giants game.
There was a lot of things that cost that game.
4 missed field goals, and it's time to bring in some competition.
We got to push that a little bit. I agree with Mike.
It's also
you want to cut down his
I agree with Mike.
They're at the bottom of the league, Tony.
Coach Rivera said that wasn't going to happen because of the COVID situation. They said that it's hard to bring people in like they normally would have. By now, they probably would have, but the situation they're in is hard to do.
I think Milton nailed it, though. I think the injuries have hurt special teams. They're at the bottom. They're like 29th in punt returns, kick returns in the league. But I think with the injuries moving, DeShazier was a big leader on special teams, moving him over into a full-time position. I think that those kind of things hurt special teams.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that they should cut Donna's cousin, but I am saying that they do have to get more personnel back there, because returns and everything is going to be very important. And with this week coming up, they got an opportunity to do that. They got to go out and find some people to make special teams special. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the league and what we got to do. But should we bring Milt back? We'll see. We'll be back again. Well, sometimes on the show, we have to go and look at other teams and everything. And since our producer, whoever that may be, they love talking about the Ravens. And now, I don't know if the Ravens are in Washington. Are they in Washington or are they in Maryland?
They're Maryland. That is true.
Oh, you see who spoke up. Mike, they got a pretty good team up there, do they not?
You know what? When we did this graphic at the very first part of the season, we sort of prognosticated who might be the good players. And at least one of the people on this panel gave me a few hints. You can probably take a guess as to who to put on this graphic. So nonetheless, if you look at the offense of the Ravens, every single one of these people have been a major contributor, and they're all in the top 5 in the league. Lamar, Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, Mark Ingram. They're all in the top 5, 6 in the entire league. You look over on the defensive side, and the young Matthew Judon, he's doing amazingly. Patrick Queen has his moments, but he's big time. I'm telling you, he's going to be big time. We all love Marlon Humphrey. He's doing well. And Marcus Peters was a great pickup. He really was. And I think the Ravens are going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and not just beat them by 10 or more.
That ain't happening.
I felt like that was from the heart, Tony. I felt like that was from the heart.
Can y'all believe that he went and got all those stats? Is this the Washington football team show or the Ravens football team? Mike, you got all those stats, but the one thing that has to work is the quarterback.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson.
He stirs everything up in there. And I think they're a good team, but we have seen the same thing with Mahomes over in Kansas City. When those quarterbacks they control the game. As long as he's playing well, they got enough people around that they are a good team.
Yeah, that's true.
Tony, he mentioned Pittsburgh, and so Baltimore better watch out for Pittsburgh too, because their defensive line, offensive line, running game, passing game, they beat Tennessee in a great game. I mean, they were clicking. This is the team that's dangerous that nobody seemed to be talking about, because Mike is too busy talking about the Ravens.
Hey, G, what do you think about that, man?
Typically when Mike talks about the Raven, I can get like that 2-3 minute little nap in. I like take a little break.
We have a couple minutes left, but I want to know everybody's opinion of Brady and the game that he had. This is Gary's guy, Tom Brady. I mean, they're talking about this defense being one of the number one defenses in the league. They're talking about the offense with the new weapon, Antonio Brown is going to join them this week. They're talking about this team winning the Super Bowl.
Well, you never play against Brady. I mean, just
Well, I learned my lesson because I definitely went against him last week on my pick. But I mean, who knew he was going to come out and act like that?
Brady, come on now.
Yeah, but
45 points.
I mean, that's his pedigree. But I thought to change the scenery. I didn't know, but he's legit, man. He's legit.
Well, and you know who else is legit is the coach. The coach was not bad when he was down in Arizona.
Arizona, right?
And I have always liked him, and I like them. I think that they could go to the Super Bowl. As we said last week, nobody and no team really jumps out at you right now. But if you look at that Brady, I'm telling you what, he's getting better each and every week. I think he's familiar with the players. He's familiar with the system, and you're starting to see the old Brady again. So that
plus he complements that defense. Todd Bowles coaches him up pretty well, and if what he hadn't had is somebody to maintain that offense over a period of time and keep them off the field. But they do have a complementary thing happening between that offense and that defense down in Tampa Bay.
Look at the pieces they have added, and they've added a running back. Now they got receiver, and they already had good people. And that team is loaded.
Yeah.
And nobody's really taking it. Everybody's watching Brady, but as you just mentioned, and you guys mentioned, they're loaded all around on that team. They got good players at each position.
Antonio Brown just been added too.
Yeah.
That's
dangerous.
That's a game changer right there.
Yes. Yeah. Even if he doesn't play.
When he was in New England, Brady must have liked him.
As long as Antonio keeps it, just plays football. That's what just go play football. Don't care about us. Go play football. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a game changer, even if he doesn't play many reps, and he is going to play because teams have to game plan for him. You got a game plan for him. That's at least 2 or 3 people out in secondary that's got to have their eyes on him at some point. So
we want to get fixed in.
We say they're pretty good. What other team around the league do you see they starting to come in form? I know Pittsburgh is, but I think the game against Baltimore, we'll know where they are then.
All right, can I get in the picks this week, because then you can talk about some of these teams, and I promise Anna will get Paul. If you're watching this, please put the picks on. Please put the picks on. She thinks I'm cheating. All right.
Please, Paul.
Please, Paul.
Right.
Please, Paul.
You got the midway point, so every
I know.
Wait here.
17-8. Tony is in the lead for the first time in 15 years. I love that.
Gary is a drag. Come on, man.
Donna's 15-10. Milton's 14-11, and I'm 14-11. Anyway, Las Vegas at Cleveland. I think Cleveland, 5 touchdown passes by my guy Baker. Can you believe that, people?
No.
I can't either. That's an anomaly. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. I'm going with Baltimore. San Francisco at Seattle. That's the game. That is the game. Seattle took a tough one on Monday night. I'm telling you, San Francisco's coming back with Kittle, and they're getting healthier.
Seattle.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
And
overtime.
We're almost out of time. But again, New England at Buffalo. I think Buffalo is probably going to take that one. And then you have the Rams at Miami. That I can't wait to see the Tua.
You got a lot of good games on there this week, Mike. You really do. And I tell you, it's hard games to really pick. Well, you see the picks on the screen. You know that I'm still in first. So next week you can come back. I'll be there. That's how I do it. That's how we do it. And as I always say, we don't say goodbye. We say in the meeting.